Right, so I'm Fonzie the Fonz. I'm joined here with Timothy Scott. He's going to talk about his life in the military, joining the Grenadier Guards, and also doing some private contracting. So, Timothy, if you want to introduce yourself.
As Fon said there, my name is Tim Scott. I'm 37 years old. I spent a number of years in the military, done some, had an interesting life, shall we say, beforehand anyway. And after the military, I used a lot of the skills I learned to further a career in a sort of private sector of security overseas and in the UK. And went on to do numerous things. So, yeah, thanks for having me on, Fons.
No worries, mate. Thanks for being here. So what was your life like before the military? Like, what was your upbringing?
My upbringing was probably typical of a private or a guardsman, should we say, working class background. My father's from Northern Ireland. My mum's from the mainland, as we called it, or England, if you like. And I spent, because they broke up when I was young, so I lived with my mother mainly, but also I lived a bit with my dad, and it was a very confusing time for myself. I was in and out of school and all sorts of stuff. And didn't really have a good education. Basically, I spent quite a number of years on and off in actual Northern Ireland, and a number in London, back and forth as I was changing, and one parent didn't want me, the other one did. Do you know what I mean? This kind of thing. So it was kind of I was already sort of travelling about and not really living a normal life of, like, let's say, your family, being there, having a father, having a mother, that kind of didn't really take place in my life. So I was already, I would say, at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
And I was also partially deaf. And people, even my school teachers, didn't know that at the time. I was actually partially deaf for about 2 years, and I learned to.
They do like vigorous tests now. They done it with my kids. They made sure they, yeah, but they didn't really do that back then.
Back then, no. And what it was is I was lip reading, and I naturally learned to lip read. It was really weird, but I didn't know I had something wrong. My mum kind of did, because she always used to have "What's wrong with you? You're stupid" or something, and sort of give me a slap on the head. But it was a time when it was a bit more old school, shall we say, than it is now, where the approach is, in some ways, is a lot better, actually. At least you can identify these problems within the kids. Like you said there, your kids had tests and stuff.
Yeah, they thought one of my kids might have been deaf in one ear, and they wouldn't let it go. They kept bringing him in, setting up appointments and stuff.
That's really good to hear, Like, good to hear, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the fun. But, I ended up having grommets, and it completely solved the problem. So it was a very simple thing, but I missed like two years of schooling. When I was at school, I always remember this, and it's something that it always plays in my mind. This is why I really hate bullies. But I never had a school uniform because my mum couldn't afford it. So I had like cheap tracksuit. So I already stood out as well. Do you know what I mean? Because every kid had a school uniform. I didn't. So it was kind of rough when I was younger. And in some respects, I felt an outcast already.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's not the greatest way to start. But I'm pretty sure if you spoke to many guys that had served in the military, they would have their own unique story to, their life as well, coming from working class backgrounds. So, I started working from the age of 15, really, to help my mum, because we were pretty, to put it bluntly, piss poor. So I came kind of out of school, or had many sick days, should we say, so I could work with my mum. And it wasn't her fault. It was just the way that we used the survival mechanism to put food on the table. It was the only way we could do it. If I, at 15 years old, could help my mum clean more houses, my mum was a cleaner, more houses in that day, we had more money. It was as simple as that.
Yeah.
So, that's what I started doing. So I really, you could say, left school at 15, kind of back and forth, and also when I was young over in Ireland, in Northern Ireland, I was with my nan a lot of the time, and there's quite a unique story that we go on to as well later. But when I was young, I was over there, and my grandfather, I can't say who he worked for, but he worked, all legitimate. in Northern Ireland fighting against the IRA. And when I was very, very young, like knee high, we're talking, actually, I was with my nan, and the IRA kicked the door in,
Wow.
put a gun on my nan's head,
Wow.
and was going to kill her because they didn't like my granddad for the job that he'd done, because he had put a lot of the IRA terrorists in jail, shall we say. So from a young age, I started to go through that. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't really remember it, but my nan's told me numerous times about it. But I do remember in Northern Ireland when I was over there, missing many bombs, i.e. me and my nan went shopping, she would take me there, and I remember, I think it was Marks and Spencer's, and we came back, 10 minutes it took us to get home, stuck the news on, the whole thing had blown up.
Oh.
Do you know what I mean? And this is, at that young age, I think that sort of like made me think, do you know what, we got to stop these bad people, you know? And I think that just slowly leads on to why I joined the military, if that question comes about. But yeah, that's sort of like brief upbringing of myself. So yeah.
Intense, right. Man. So there's a couple of times at an early age where, you know, things could have been really, 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 you know, bad.
Yeah, hugely. And you know, even I remember kind of experiencing it over there. Obviously, a lot of people lost family, you know, in the time of the troubles throughout those years.
Well, you nearly did.
Yeah.
In front of you, like that story where the IRA kicked the door in.
Yeah. And that is, you know, something that I've not really expressed to many people. Obviously, now I put it into here, but that's fine. You know, I think it needs to be said, because that's a reality of what happened. I think.
Do you think it's fortunate that you don't remember it?
I do, yeah, but that's something we come on to. But I've probably seen more worse, if that makes any sense.
Fair enough.
So
no, but obviously at a young age. I'm not saying it gets any easier, but
no,
you know,
yeah,
and especially seeing a family member, like, you know, that'd be pretty rough.
The worst bit about it, Fonz, is like the light-hearted bit of it that sort of still makes me laugh today and gives me my strength, is my nan politely told them to F-U-C-K off because she was a staunch Protestant woman, and was very straight with that. You know, she wouldn't show fear.
Yeah.
And I think that was also, well, I remember her telling me, you know, she told me at a young age, but like we've talked about it more recent, especially with obviously coming up to doing this. And I just find that kind of like almost inspiring in a weird way. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
So yeah, that scenario was quite reflecting in my life later on when I found out about it. You know.
Yep.
Yeah. Pretty unique.
So let's talk about you know, your time in the military. So how do you feel the military has changed you as a person?
I think it changed me massively, because I'll be honest with you, I probably had no real hope. I'm dyslexic, okay. I was, you know, like I said previously, I was partially deaf for a number of years in schooling, so my education was right down the pan, you know.
Yeah.
I really I would have been going through this sort of the system of being in a really low-end job. So for me, it changed me because it made me feel that I had a purpose and I could actually be somebody. Because what the military does, especially when you join it, is you have hopes and aspirations. So there's a path there, and as long as you stick to it and you work hard, you will get promotion, become better, get paid more, you know, be valued. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
So the most thing it changed me was it gave me hope in some respects. If we're talking on later down the line, how did the military change me? It changed me massively. I think one of the main things is I saw how ugly the world is, because I feel sometimes it's hard for people that haven't experienced those things to sit there and sort of put on the news and see, like, I don't know, For example, children getting killed in Syria, because of the ongoing conflict, and to sit there and go, whatever, is Coronation Street on? You know what I mean? But where I might look at that and go, now, because I can relate just slightly a bit more to it, as probably many other military can.
Well, it's like watching a, as you said, like, Coronation Street. Well, but you put on a film and you see this stuff. So what's the difference watching live news and then watching a film? Because it's on a screen, so you're just basically desensitized.
Yeah, that's the word. I think. Do you remember when obviously the Twin Towers, just changing subject slightly, and what did everybody say? They thought it was a film, right?
Yeah.
Because, like you just said, there it is that, and
he's so used to seeing it.
Yeah, and to be honest, now, if I was even now today, I think I've become a bit like that because I'm unchanneled from the reality.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, because the last time I saw conflict or anything like that was 2015 as a volunteer. So I think I feel I've become into that. But just going back to the question, how did it change me? Yeah, it gave me huge hope. But towards the back end of it, it also gave me slight disappointment, if I'm honest.
Okay, yeah.
Because one of the biggest things was to join Special Forces, and I done a pre-selection for that, of which I done quite well, and then to get told that I won't have time to train to go on the actual proper course, and that's when I left the military. That was a huge disappointment in my life, because that was the end game for me. Do you know what I mean? Well, that was going to be the real start of my career, if you like.
Right.
Because that's when I learned that I was capable of anything. I'm not going to sit here and say that, I would definitely pass that. I would be naive and arrogant to say so. Yeah. But I would like to have had the proper opportunity to have a go at it. Do you know what I mean?
Is that what you was pushing for whilst in the military then?
That's all I wanted.
That's all you want, yeah. So I can understand, yeah.
I didn't care about promotion, and I will be blunt. And if any ex-military guys are watching this, they will understand. Internal politics, believe it or not, involved in ranks, and when you go from lower ranks, i.e., lance corporal, like you have in the rest of the army, but in the guards you have, you have corporal, then you have lance sergeant, which means you join the sergeant's mess, which is the best way to describe it. Is you become an adult, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of the way that people would say it in the military terms, is you go from being a child to an adult, right? So you join the sergeant's mess, you have more responsibility, blah, blah, blah. But the internal politics within the regiment I was in was too much for me. I wanted to be in the field. I wanted to be, in the cold with hardly any food. Do you know what I mean? Sitting there, using tactics to destroy an enemy. That's all I ever wanted to do, and come out of it with my team, section, whatever it may be, and function in that environment. I wasn't really the kind of guy. You get two types of soldiers.
Yeah.
You get ones that love all the paperwork, the kind of ceremonial side of it, and then you get guys that just like being in the field. And I was just one of them, mate. And the natural avenue for me would have been to go to Special Forces. Definitely.
Makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, hugely.
So, okay, tricky question, yeah. How do you accept possible actions resulting in the death of the enemy whilst in conflict?
I'll give you quite a ruthlessly honest answer to it. And that is the actions that I done, I'm proud of. Okay. And I feel no guilt at all.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're in those positions, and I'm not just saying this to be, like the big man or something. When you're in that position, the way you must push to your mind, and you must understand, is that it's you or him. You are not necessarily on an attacking mode. The way I looked at it, I was defending myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you want to come home to your family.
Yeah, like I had my little one. How old was she then? I can't even remember. She might have been 2. Like, imagine, like 2 years old. Obviously, she's there in my mind, and I even had her tattoo on my heart
Yep.
prior to Afghanistan. But yeah, for me, it was like I need to get home and see her. So whatever gets in my way, I will destroy.
Yeah.
And I honestly, I don't even lose sleep over it. It might sound mental to some people, but I can firmly say I do not lose one bit of sleep over actions that might have resulted in destruction of a target, should we say. I
That's
use
fair enough.
correct terms, all right, but yeah, honestly, mate,
That
not
is
one.
fair enough, mate. Yep.
Yeah.
So what was it like being because you're a private contractor. So what was that like? Do you feel that changed you at all?
Yeah, I think it did. But basically, I'll just run through it. I worked in many sectors of the private contracting world. It can be a grimy, weird world,
Mm-hmm.
full of wonderful people you'll come across, full of people that give it the big one. And normally, 9 times out of 10, you'll know they do not know their shit at all. Weird and wonderful people from around the world. But I worked in the sectors of maritime security, so working on big oil rigs all the way to tiny little, shall we say, boats.
So what would they be attacked by? Like an oil rig? Pirates and
Yeah, pirates. Because what you do, you go through the Gulf of Aden, and I used to run a lot from Sri Lanka through the Gulf, go all the way through the Indian Sea, Gulf of Aden, then up to Suez. Okay, and disembark for Suez or get on a holding ship. And yeah, 9 times out of 10, you wouldn't see a lot of action. I'm going to be honest. Yeah, it's not the wonderful world that some people go on about. I done it for years. Okay, I had a couple of incidents, but nothing to really, scream about. Especially coming from like the likes of Afghanistan and then later on in Kurdistan, being a volunteer. But it was a wonderful job, to be honest. I got sometimes I got weeks in like places like Mauritius. I mean, and I was paid in a hotel. So now I've finished all that, I can say. But like we just
silly question, but did you get like days off? Did you get like and you could? Yeah. Oh, mate, that's got to be good. Yeah.
When you're on the ship, there's only a certain area where you actually do your duty. So you do like you're up on the bridge, which is the highest part of the ship. You ever see like the T? Yeah, you've got this like T, and it's called the bridge.
Yep.
You're up there, so you can respond with the weapons if needed, in case if someone's trying to get on the ship or pirates are engaging, or whatever. Yeah. But when we're not in those certain areas, we're off anyway. So it was just gym. Hot mass.
Yeah.
Eat. Well, some of the ships, if you're on a Chinese ship, and you wouldn't want to be now, I'll tell you that. But if you were on a Chinese ship, you didn't get much food. I didn't do many Chinese, mainly Korean, and they treated you so well. You got good food. I like Korean food anyway.
Fantastic.
And yeah, we had a good time doing it. I did work in West Africa, which was a bit different, in Togo, and I was in charge of 4 military guys. That was hard work. So it'd be me and one other, and we would be in charge of these 4 military guys. And it was a bit of a weird thing, really. They were military of Togo, but we were in charge of them because of the ship. So we were like almost a liaison. But trying to get those guys to do anything was very difficult, as you can imagine. It took a lot of bribing to get them to actually work.
Really?
Mate, honestly, like it literally. When I mean bribing, it might be cigarettes, a crate of coke.
Shouldn't have to do that though, dude. Like, you should just be there to do their bloody job,
But the problem is when you speak to them and get to know some of them really good lads, is they're not on much, even for their country's standards. So for them, they're like, this is just an extra duty I'm doing. I could be like, you know what I mean, in the camp. So I don't really care about you silly foreigner. Fair enough. That's what they used to think, and that's fine.
Oh, when you put it like that, yeah.
But if you had I used to get some of them training and try and use that sort of skills that I had, people skills, to try and get them to engage with me. And once you got that, they would start to work for you. Do you know what I mean? It was just about using your people skills and not coming across as some arrogant
Yeah, yeah,
British guy, you know, just sort of a guy that, all right, lads, I'm in your country. I do understand. You don't get much money. This is what I can try and help you with. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
I think
definitely.
that's a bit. But yeah, also, sorry, just quickly going on, I also worked in Iraq on some convoys. That was all right, not bad at all. I'm trying to think what else I've done. Oh, the story I'll just quickly tell you when I went on that little boat that
Yeah, yeah,
must
yeah.
have. I went from, where did I go from? It might have been Mauritius, all the way up to Egypt. So you go through that main area, and I went on this boat, mate. Honestly, you just, it was so small. I got told it was a ship, right? Got there, gone through customs, met these three mad Austrian guys, off their heads they were. And they were like, "Ah, oh, you must be the guy with the AKs and blah blah blah." We're going from here to here, and I was like, "What?" Anyway, it took a month. This thing must have been, what was it? Was it 16 meters? I can't remember the actual diameter of it. 16 by 5 or something, right?
So
And
it's
it's
just yeah,
freeboard. It's freeboard. It's when you're looking at maritime, you have the freeboard, and where the water is, and the top level from climbing onto a ship, that's your freeboard. This was like a meter. I'm used to like 16 to 20 meters, right? So
yeah,
it takes doing to get on a fast ship like that. This was
yeah,
a meter. You know, the speed was crap. We
yeah.
didn't have enough supplies, but it was. It turned out to be one of the best trips I've done because it really was like amazing. Do you know what I mean? I got to
Yeah.
know these guys. We were stuck there for a month in the, you know, didn't see a ship for like 2 weeks. Do you know what I mean? So it was
Shark
completely nuts.
infested waters and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
So you
can't
know,
stand that. Like I would have been put with myself, man. I really don't like that stuff.
and it's quite mad because when we went through, yeah, because when you go through the Gulf of Aden, you tend to stick near Yemen because obviously Somalia is a lot more dangerous, and that's where pirates mainly operate.
Yeah,
But at the time, Saudi was bombing Yemen, as they have been for many years. And through the night, it would just be flashes all night, where they were dropping so much bomb, so many bombs in Yemen, mate. Honestly, I couldn't believe it. We all couldn't, you know.
scary.
Um, Scary times, yeah. Madness, actually. Yeah. So
What do you think your chances would have been if some pirates come along?
depending on the vessel, mate. If it's a big vessel,
No, exactly that vessel you was in.
oh, that vessel, we could have done our best, but if we got swarmed by, sometimes they use many little skiffs. No, we would have been taken hostage, and it would have been a fucking nightmare. Um, as security, I don't know what would have happened to me because no security have been taken hostage, I believe. Only crew. But I know the Somalian pirates at that time were saying that what they would do was tie our hands and feet together and chuck us in the sea. So that's pretty brutal. So yeah, mate, it would have been it wouldn't have been a good result. But luckily, touch wood, you know, all was
Yeah,
well.
yeah. Touch wood.
I've just as well on the private contracting bits as well. I've obviously back in the UK, I've worked for numerous people from foreign royal families. I'm not going to mention where or who, just because it's not fair on the clients I've worked for, but numerous people as their personal CPO, which is Coast Protection Officer, or BG, bodyguard, if some people want to use that term,
Hmm.
which I got not a bad name in London, you know, doing. And that was some of the best times I had because obviously you're well paid, you're looked after, and you're eating some of the finest restaurants. That was like more of the good times I had because I was making real money. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I was when I was doing maritime at the beginning, but it just decreased massively. But yeah, that's the last time I was making serious good money, and I was like, this is good, life's good, you know. So yeah, I've done a bit of that as well. Pretty interesting.
some good stuff. So you also done some volunteer work. What drove you to be a
Yeah,
volunteer? And that was in Kurdistan for a foreign army, right?
that's right. Yeah, I was basically watching Channel 4, and it was about the Yazidis, which is they're kind of the best way to describe Yazidis. I'm not saying they are because I know they find this not the correct term, but they're a bit like pagans of the Middle East.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, they worship a peacock, and it's kind of an old tradition in the Middle East, especially in those regions. So I was watching a program about them, and it was about this one guy who used to save women that had been captured by ISIS. So he would go into the ISIS area,
Yeah.
like by himself, get these women together, and then walk them back out. And it brought tears to my eyes because I
What a
thought to
lad.
myself, yeah, what a legend. And I thought to myself, that guy's doing that, and he ain't got much anyway. Yeah, if he's a Yazidi guy living over there at that time, he ain't got hardly anything. Maybe some of his family have been killed. You know, maybe his kids have even been raped by ISIS. This is the reality of what was happening. And I thought to myself, I've got to do something. So I started getting all my old kit together, and I remember thinking to myself, I was also excited, and I'm going to be brutally honest on this because I think it would be wrong for me to say I just did it because I cared for those, those children over there. And I did. I purely, like, hand on heart, I swear on my life, that was a huge motivation.
Yeah.
But now I look back at it, I do think a motivation of me was that I wanted a bit more. Do you know what I mean? I wanted a bit more conflict. I wanted a bit more of that. And I wanted to go into a place where it wasn't like the military.
Yeah.
I was entering a world that was almost guerrilla warfare.
Yeah.
You know, there was no rules, i.e., when I say that, there wasn't like I had to wear my body armor.
Yeah.
I had to have this and that. Like the army was like, boom, boom, boom. This was grab your kit, lads. We're going out and we're going to go and smash ISIS, or we're going to go and do this, you know?
Yep.
So that excited me as well. But when I was getting my stuff together and that, this is one thing that I did do that I feel quite ashamed about, is I lied to my ex at the time and my daughter, basically. I said I was going to Dubai. I'd done it at the time because I felt I didn't want to worry him. Now, me saying I'm going to Dubai, they were completely used to it because I had been working as a contractor. Do you know what I mean? So it was like normal. Oh, I'm going back out on a rota, or I'm going back out on, a 2 month, 3 month period. So I kind of used that. Had enough money to sort of pay the bills and stuff, left that with him. I made which this is mental when I think back at it, but I made a USB video stick. Sorry, a video that I put on a USB stick.
Yep.
Basically, if I died, I wanted it to be given to my daughter. Right. So all those sort of preparations that I made, like I said, packed all my old kit, flew to Germany, and I took 2 flights. I took one I paid by card, so it was registered on the system, and one I paid by cash. So it wasn't, if you like, when I got there. So I managed to get into Iraq. So that was the stars, yeah. So I'm queuing up at the visa bit in Kurdistan, Iraq, so Suleimania. And they're like, why are you here? I'm like, well, I've come here to join Peshmerga as a volunteer. Oh, okay, and it's mainly them that operate on the visa stuff and all that, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, no problem, mate. Boom, boom, boom. Met some lads there. Not going to mention their names, but some of them were British, the main guys was, and then Americans, Norwegian, some Australians, and so forth. Met them, had a chat. They went back. I spent a couple more days by myself in Sully. I then had to get a taxi to the front line. This was the time when I thought to myself, okay, this could potentially be it. There was a part of me as well that wasn't bothered about dying at that time because of my frame of mind at this time. It's quite an important bit. I didn't give a shit, and I'll be brutally honest. I was fed up, had enough of working as a contractor at that time. Didn't feel it really made an impact. Didn't give a shit about the money at the time. Felt that this was in 2015, by the way. Just felt that I was a bit lost and thought, well, there's no point drinking yourself to death or, maybe, ending your life. You might as well make it worth it, if you like, and, do something that's proper. So that side of me, I was a bit careless, if I'm honest. And I'll tell you about something that happened there in a bit. But my mindset was careless, which is dangerous as a soldier, man. It can actually harm others as well.
Is that something that you developed in the military?
I don't think so. What it was is I had excitement, and then I'd come out and I thought I'd get a load more excitement in the private sector, where there was just times of boredom. Do you know what I mean? I had some great times, do not get me wrong, but there was times of boredom, and I wanted that bit more. Do you know what it is? The best way to describe it, I'm totally anti-drugs, but I will say one of my drugs is this kind of life. Do you know what I mean? It's a natural high.
Yep.
You know? And it's the best way to. I think I've spoken to other guys about it, but best way to describe it is probably like a heroin addict.
Yeah.
Who needs to fix once in a while, and if he don't get it, he starts going like seriously downhill. And that's how I felt. I was in this like motion of that. Do you know what I mean?
It's just like you can't really join the military and then simply come back to civvy life.
Yeah, I think that's. I think some people can, because maybe they took more of a let's just get through my time. It's cool. But I always grab things, and you probably know me well enough now that I get things and I go full pelt into them.
Yeah.
And I don't.
You're not going to do it half-assed.
No, I go full pelt, and that's what I want to see is the results of being that fully committed to something.
Yeah. You want to know at the end of it that you gave it your all.
Yeah, massively. And I think Afghanistan showed me that introduction to warfare, because that was a brutal war, and started to realise that after it, shit, I missed that stuff. I really missed that stuff.
Yeah,
that was brutal, but it was great, you know. And then obviously just leading on there about Kurdistan, and where was I at about the taxi?
Yeah, you got out of a taxi.
I had to get a taxi to the front line, which was Cook at the time, and I spoke to one taxi driver. He was like, "I'll take you halfway." I said, "Just take me halfway." So he took me halfway. Now you've got to remember myself as well. At that time, ISIS front line was changing. So any checkpoint, I don't know the end checkpoint. That driver could have been ISIS. I don't know who this guy is. Now he's taken me to every checkpoint, but if he takes me too far, the next checkpoint could be ISIS.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a foreigner. He wants to join the Peshmerga.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Bring him here. You know what I mean? So that played on my mind on the second trip that I took, i.e. the second taxi I took. So I got halfway, persuaded this other guy, and he was like, "Look, I'll take you." I had to offer him quite a bit of money. None of them wanted to go up there. They were that scared. So he took me.
Just quickly, did you have a weapon at this point?
No.
So
no.
You were going up there, and you could have been ambushed, and you wouldn't have been able to defend yourself.
No, because I was waiting to get issued a weapon when I got to the Peshmerga.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
I can't obviously carry, in the country, even though it's at war, if you like, or got internal conflict. I can't still, carry. I'll be arrested. Do you know what I mean? And it's, if you start going around going, can you give me a gun? And people are going to think, well, is this guy ISIS? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So, basically, I ended up there, and everything was cool. I met the guys that I was meant to meet, and got issued all my stuff. I got this AK, honest to God. I saw guys with AKs with no butts in them shoulder, butts or anything, mate. It was quite bad when I got there. Rusty AKs that we had to sort of dig out and sort out.
Was this that story where someone didn't have a firing pin? Was that in?
Sorry, that was in
or was that a private contracting?
Working for a private contractor, yeah, that's right. But
that's a funny story though.
Yeah. But yeah, it was along those lines, mate, and we had to make do with what we had there.
Yeah.
But I got there, and I really felt good there, because I was with guys that weren't getting paid. Do you know what I mean? You have to be a bit nutty to go somewhere.
Well, I mean, you spent your own money to get there. You've booked all your flights. You've paid this cab driver. That's amazing.
And you've also, we were only getting fed twice a day, so we were eating chickpeas and rice twice a day. It's not their fault. It's because they can't afford to feed us. So you have to have money to buy some stuff from a local shop, whether it be some tins of tuna or something, just to get some protein and keep yourself going. Because I think I lost about 8 kilos there. I was like in the 70s, mate. Like 70s, 2 or 3 or something. That's so skinny for me. I'm normally 85, 90 kilos. You know, I
Yeah.
was like thin as hell. But there was loads of boredom, I will be honest. But like I said about how I was a bit reckless at times, I remember a wagon that we thought we were getting hit, but I don't know what it was. There was a lot of confusion on the battlefield because the problem is when you have the British military, everyone knows where every person is. When you're in like a guerrilla sort of, the Peshmerga are army, but when you're in, they operate like guerrilla warfare.
Yeah.
When you're in that situation, people don't know where they are. So someone's shooting at you, and it could be your own guys. Do you know what I mean? And you're like, what the fuck are you doing? But they think you're someone else. Right? So we were getting hit. We don't even know if it was us or them. I can't remember. I jumped out the wagon. Everyone was like, what the fuck? And I was like, get the fuck out. I was standing there, rounds pinging everything. But that was my reckless mentality at the time. Do you know what I mean? And I just wanted to get stuck in. And I've never been so committed to destroying an enemy as much as I was to destroy ISIS. Because to me, when I was in Afghanistan, obviously I wanted to destroy the Taliban, but the Taliban had been around for years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they did some bad shit, do not get me wrong. But when you look at ISIS, that is a different level. You know?
Yeah, it's like being a kid, and then like you got the bad guys and the good guys. Like the
Yeah.
definition of ISIS is they literally are them bad guys, the true evil. Like no goodness. There's nothing. They have no good motives. It is all
Well,
just to conquer and destroy.
we done quite a big operation, and we found this school, and made some of the paperwork in there was like it wasn't made in Iraq. I can tell you that it was made. I would probably say somewhere like Saudi or something. Some of the actual paperwork, the stuff that was in Arabic that they were teaching to the children, about infidels and all this kind of stuff, mate, was mental. But the most disturbing thing I ever found was there was like this school along one way, and there was like called it a playground, but a dust bowl kind of thing, small half a football pitch. And then there was this small like house. And we went there because we were clearing all these buildings. So we like kicked the door and got in there. And on the bed was like tie wraps. Yeah, and there was condoms on the floor. So you know what was going on in that bed. Now, I can't officially say that it was the kids in the school. I can't say this, that. But something wasn't right. Do you know what I mean? That's the kind of stuff you come across. Now, that barbaric side of them was just it still makes me angry to today, And the flip side of it all, though, is you felt good that you were doing something. You felt like, for me personally, these people are brainwashed into, this extremism from an extreme form of Islam, right? But we were there because, personally, me as well, I wanted them to see my face. I wanted them to know that blokes from the West that aren't religiously motivated, I'm religious, but I'm not religiously motivated to fight, a religious war for something, are there. So I wanted them to see me. I wanted to see this, this white face, non-Muslim guy that was like, hey, we're not having it.
Yeah.
You might be brainwashed, but we're not, and we're still coming over to smash her.
Yeah.
Because you're parents of shit. That was a big message that I thought I wanted to get across when I was over there. Sadly, through it all, there was a lot of boredom. I'm not going to say every day we were ever doing anything, mate. Loads of boredom, like any conflict. I worked with some great people. I worked with some, there were some special forces guys out there. Not going to mention what country or whatever, but fantastic guys that were working out there as well, quite near us. And yeah, it was an interesting time, mate. And I feel proud I've done it, but I kind of feel sad that I lost touch with my daughter after it, because obviously my family were like, oh, what the. No one could understand, you know what I mean? Why would somebody do that? my thinking behind it was that I don't want them to come to us and my daughter to suffer. So if I can make some change, then I
Yeah.
will do, instead of just sitting there complaining. And that was all, the real face of it, I suppose.
I
You
know
know what
what
I
you
mean?
mean, actually, because, well, I don't, but I got a little bit of understanding because when all that stuff happened with Iran not long ago, my daughter was watching me, I was watching a thing, and I said, there could be a war. And I didn't really clock what I said to her. But we had spoke about, World War One and Two, and my granddad was called up and stuff. And she burst, like nearly burst into tears and went, you going to war then? So I kind of,
Yeah, yeah,
I understand why, I'm not saying what you did was right, but I
yeah. No,
understand where you're coming from, because
I,
that face, I'll never forget it. And it's like, I'm not even going to war. Hopefully,
yeah,
touch wood. But I wouldn't, I don't know if how I'd be able to sort of go out that door. So
I,
I understand, man.
I think
It must be hard.
that was hard to, you've got to remember as well, I come from a background where I've been away all the time. So
Yeah,
my daughter was like, I used to come home from whether it be Kenya, Canada, Afghanistan, uh, wherever it may have been.
yeah,
And my daughter didn't know me. She used to look at me like I was like, some guy who's come to fix the electrics or something in the
yeah,
house. I mean, like, that was constant because that's what a kid goes through because they forget who
yeah,
their father is. And for me to then do that a number of years later, and I still remember, I was by the door, I gave her that hug, and I thought that's the last time I see her. But I just hope she takes this. And just some people watch this might think, oh, mate, that is sick. Like, why would you do that? But in my mind, I was like, I'm going to leave a legacy because this all stems back to what I said at the start. I knew from a young age I'd never be rich, and some people may say that that's defeatist. You could have motivated yourself and believed anybody can achieve anything, of which I do believe. But I just knew because of my own character, I'm never going to be rich. I'm never going to have anything. But the one thing I can leave is a legacy. And that is where I've always channeled myself. I wanted my daughter to look at my life and go, if I died then, or I died before, or I die later, if she goes, do you know what? My dad lived a life and he made some real sacrifices. You know what I mean?
hmm
Um, I wanted her to have that legacy in a way to sort of say, okay, he didn't have money and that, but I can achieve this in my education because look what dad did. Maybe that's a wrong way of thinking about it. Maybe I'm justifying it to myself somehow.
No,
But
I know what you mean. Yeah,
that's from that young, I got told I was nothing. You know, I
yeah,
got told I would never be anything. I used to get a piss taken out of me. Do you know what
mm.
I mean? Oh, you don't have a school uniform. And it all stems back to that. That's why that was quite important at the beginning to talk about that, is because that's where it stemmed from. Yeah. And then when people say when you're young, that molds you when you're old, I definitely believe it. I.e., the incident when I found out about the IRA with my family and the many incidents that have happened, that pushed me more to go and join the military because I wanted to kill these barbaric terrorists. You know what I
hmm
mean? So all those things that happened when I was young stemmed to where I think I'm at today, or have been. If that, I hope that makes sense. It's a bit here,
No, it
there, and
does. It does. Yeah,
but that's how I felt I was rich. So that makes sense. Some
yeah,
people be motivated by money, and unfortunately, do you know what? Sometimes I wish I was, and
yeah,
I truly am not. I couldn't give a shit. All I care about is having this kind of legacy and be able to show something that in my family I was something.
yep.
Yeah, and I think saying that my family have quite a few of them have served in the military on especially Northern Ireland side and have been very brave as well. So I think it's kind of living up to the expectations of my family as well. You know?
That makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I think that's that on the volunteering side.
Okay, I'll go on to the next one. So, How did the result of conflict affect you in your daily life?
Um, that's a good one. I think, like I said before, about the kind of addiction almost to conflict and
Mm.
wanting more. So it did affect me because when I can't get that, um, life's pretty numb. And then when life becomes numb, you fulfill it with bad things. And I've been through alcohol abuse hugely. Back into last year, you could say the sort of from the summer onwards, I went through a horrid time where I wanted to end my life. And I don't. I've always said this. I don't go to bed. I don't have like mad dreams about conflict. I don't like see things. I've had one incident that I had years and years ago, but that is it. There's nothing like that every day. I would be lying if I said that. I think general life pisses most people off. But if you're me looking for that high all the time, it pisses you off more because you can't find it. So you turn to drink and alcohol, and that's what happened to me. And it's my life goes like this, mate. It goes up and it goes down. You know, as you see now, as you've got to know me a lot more, is when you see I have a goal with what I'm doing now, I'm on a high. I
Yeah.
can channel my energy. That's because that is again the addiction of adrenaline and wanting to do something. After that, that's the dangerous time
See,
because
now
that's
I've known you like a couple of months, maybe 3 months,
yeah,
and it's like I can actually feel it when you send me voice notes. You're like you're happy, and already sort of see it that
yeah,
you're in a good place.
yeah. But the problem with it is I can go in a bad place overnight. Not because I've got some like bipolar disorder or something. It's because, like I said, after what I'm doing,
Yeah.
the low time comes. But that's where I need to bounce onto something else. And I've learned something. For me, it was actually something that this might be a bit cliche, but it was actually something what Tyson Fury said with his mental. He talks a lot about mental health and issues.
Yeah.
And he said, it's as simple as this. I have to train till the day I die. If I don't, then I will go back into that area.
Yeah.
That's and I kind of get that, hugely get that, because I think I'm along the same lines. If I'm out the gym and I ain't got nothing, really to look forward to, and life's just numb, um, it affects me hugely. And to answer the question, what was it? How has it affected my?
So yeah, it was like the result of conflict affected your daily life.
I don't think. I think conflict has on the principle that it's almost like an addiction. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
something that I've tasted a few times, and I just want more and more of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, we
So
kind of
it's
touched on it a bit earlier, that
yeah,
question. And it's like being in the military and then coming back to civvy life.
yeah,
And it's like obviously, yeah, you're at a high point and there's excitement all the time. You did say there was a bit of boredom in there, but
yeah.
yeah, I hear you.
And just to quickly, it must have been 4 or 5 months ago. I planned to end my life. I've never really said that on open platform, but I planned to end my life. I had somewhere I was going to do it and everything. I got that close to doing it. It scared the hell out of me because the problem is I realised something when I was that close to doing that. You know, I realised one thing that I always go back to this. What's the point in doing that? If you're going to do that, go and do, you know, I don't know, go and run around the fucking world or something for charity. Don't end your life. And I have that mentality that keeps me going. Go and do something sort of constructive, help others. And I'm really, on that path. I think we'll talk about that in a bit, maybe on the next question or after, of where I'm going now. But yeah, I would be a lie if I said it didn't affect my life in that principle of what I've just said.
On these notes, there is a question here.
Yeah.
So, like, how has the military affected you mentally? I'm not sure if you've kind of covered that. Is there anything you want to sort of expand on there?
I think it's mentally, we've covered most of it, but I think
Yeah.
also it affects you and how you operate as a person in everyday life. If you went into the military unorganised, you come out of it very an organised person. So on
Yeah.
the flip side of it, on the positive side, without being too negative about this, um, it affects you in a way that's quite positive on the outside world. So you'll be very organised. You turn up to work bang on time, if not
Yeah.
5 minutes before. You find it weird when you see like people that, I'm not saying all people are like this, but people that are non-military like turn up 10 minutes late, like, oh, hello everyone. You're
Yeah. It
like,
just don't matter to them. Yeah.
just around, like just normal.
What is it, regimented or something? Isn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's the word. Yeah, you get that side of it, but one of the most important things I've learned is you need to balance it. It can actually
Do you
ruin.
get up in the morning and make your bed and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of people say that's if you do that, you feel a lot better at the end of the day.
Do you know what they say? Don't they? There's a guy done a speech. There's quite a few speeches on that. That if you start your day by making your bed, your day will go very
Yeah,
well. Yeah.
yeah. See, I'm one of them guys that don't. I'm gonna try it for you, dude. I'm gonna see if
Yeah.
it actually makes a difference.
And you don't have to have these hospital corners, like and stuff.
Yeah,
Nothing like that. Just making it and then having a routine. Everyone has a routine in the morning, don't they?
yeah,
Yeah, just using it as a positive routine. Like instead of, I found lately actually where I've been a bit injured that I've sort of sat round and then before you know it, it's like lunchtime.
yeah,
So I can see how people do get like that because you're sort of pottering on your phone, you're having a coffee, you're watching some TV, and then it's like, oh, it's 12 o'clock. What's going on
yeah.
there?
The missus will give me a chore, and I'll be like, "Yeah, I'll do that in a minute." And really, I should just be like, "Yep, yep," regimented. Get
Yeah,
up and do it straight away. My granddad's old saying was, "Never put off something you can do today for tomorrow."
yeah,
Um, and
bang.
it is bang on. Just do it. Just get out and
Yeah,
do it.
yeah,
Right. We touched on your relationship with your daughter a little bit.
yeah.
That is kind of this question, but how was like being in the military and doing all the stuff, good stuff that you've done? How has that affected your relationships? And that does mean your daughter. That means your family and girlfriends and exes and yeah.
Um, I think it's
Or
affected
has it affected? Should I say?
hugely, hugely. Um, I was very good at becoming numb when I was away. I sometimes, and this sounds mad to people, like, and this is quite an important point of how it's affected me, because our
Hmm.
relationship, sorry, is I could switch off. I just, it was a talent at the time, but it's probably not a healthy one. I could switch off and not even think about my daughter or who I was with at the time. I could do it like that, and sometimes I would have to remind myself I had a daughter. That sounds mental, but
That really does, dude. Yeah.
I had the ability to do it, and it was a gift at the time. Places like Afghanistan, Kurdistan, a lot of people. I used to like challenge myself, like, and think, is it because I just truly don't give a shit, or is it just because it is a coping mechanism? And now I've come to see it as a coping mechanism,
Yeah.
hugely. But it was a gift at the time, mate, because you cannot have that. Obviously, there was times, when I had a bad day and I nearly lost my life, and quite a few numerous times, all right, that you would think about it because it comes to your head because it's natural for that to happen. But
Yeah.
when I was doing everyday, things in conflicts or just away as a private security contractor, I just switched off, man, honestly. And that affected my relationship because I think it's not healthy to do that when you have a child.
And people think that you don't care.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. They didn't
But
get a message for a week.
from you
Is it-
explaining, is this here? I want to ask you. So, like, is it that you thought, the problems at home, that they were nothing compared to what you was actually doing there?
No, do you know what it is? That's a really important point. Sometimes, whether it's a conflict or whether it's working in private security, where there's a lot of boredom. What it is it's easier. And the best way to describe it is it's easier for me being in that situation, because at home you've got bills coming through, you've got this to do, that to do. There's just so much complicated, meaningless stuff to me. But when I'm there, all I've got to do is either look after my client if it's private security, make sure this. If I'm in a conflict, look after the man left and right of me. And if someone shoots at me, if I can shoot back, and that's it. There ain't all I'm worrying about. I'm not even worrying actually if I lose my life. It's just if I lose my life, I lose my life. It's just protecting your mates, and it's as straightforward as that. There's no other complication. There's no postman going to come in, or there's no geezer going to come up to you and go, mate, you need to pay your council tax, or you need to do this, you need to do that. Taxman's coming, blah blah blah. Do you know what I mean? So it's just so straightforward. It's peaceful. It sounds mad to people, but
that really does. But I do understand what you're saying. Yeah.
You know?
It's like worry-free. You've only got one thing to worry about, and that's protecting, yourself and your mates. And
it, depending on your position of where you were and things like that, I was in a very forward PB where we didn't have much stuff. You know, the simplest of things of we were smoking a lot of the time, because in a conflict you just do. That's your like, you know, you can't drink or anything like that. So it's like your kind of treat, if you like. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So making a little fire, and you know, if we were inside the PB, making a little fire and having a cigarette with your mates, your brothers around you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just simplicity.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have a mobile phone. That's a huge and a great thing.
I'd done that once. I'd done that for about a year. Just I broke my phone and I went, thank fuck. Genuinely, like, you know, sorry about swearing, but yeah, I genuinely like broke it and I went, I'm gonna try it.
Yeah.
And I didn't miss it.
No.
I genuinely didn't miss it.
You know what, Fons? We used to, just going back to maritime there, a lot of the time we didn't have phone connection. Obviously, you're in the middle of the sea, you don't have it. And when I was working, they only started bringing it in, but a few ships, you would get on there and you have internet and you'll be like, oh, thank God. Because if you're on there a month, it's a long time. But now they all have it because it's the rules. But back then they didn't. And most of 90% of your ships, 95% didn't have internet. You didn't have phone connection. So you went back to reading, you went back to studying, you went back to watching mad films that you'd got off your mate and put onto your USB or whatever. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like conspiracy theories, and your mind was just blowing everywhere. You know what I mean? It was just like totally out of this world because you didn't have all this rubbish.
Yeah.
You didn't have somebody telling you 20 million times a day about the coronavirus on the TV. Do you know what I
mean, in my house now, we don't have telly. We just have computers and YouTube and and I don't miss TV at all. In fact, it just infuriates me when I go around someone's house and I tune in for a minute and I'm like, it is just brain dead stuff. But I absolutely hear what you're saying there. So let me ask you this, right?
Yeah.
What was it like being out in the field knowing this could be your last day? Did that affect you?
I think, on a human level, I suppose. But then again, I was very good at switching off. So it excited me. Sounds mad. It excited me. Because that's when I feel at home. Does that, like, I don't know how to really describe it to people, but I feel at home at that in that environment. Now I'm older and stuff, and like we'll talk about that probably the next one with where I'm going. It's very different right now, but I'm just thinking to back then. Honestly, mate, I just feel at home.
Fair enough, man.
It's just natural to me, and maybe that comes from background again. You know, feeling let down, family breakdown, blah blah blah. You know, the IRA, boom 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 boom. It all stems, I believe, from that. Do you know what I mean? That this was my destiny to try and do some good, as I saw it. Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. So, like, you just touched on destiny there. Like, where do you see yourself if like you didn't join the army?
I wanted to be a chef,
Chef.
but I didn't want to join the army and be a chef because I thought if you're going to join the army, you need to be a frontline soldier. You don't, I just
I
didn't
think
feel
with
that.
your mentality and your push, you would be like a Gordon Ramsay because his kitchens are very regimented and yeah. You wouldn't
I
be
love
as sweary as him, maybe not as angry. I don't know. I ain't really seen that side of Timbo yet, but you'd, yeah, you wouldn't do it half-assed. Let's put it that way.
it's something I still enjoy. I think we've talked about that before.
We do,
About
yeah,
you
yeah.
enjoy cooking as well.
I love it.
And saying that now, I really find peace in cooking. Like, I don't find it a rushed thing. I like to take my time, plan everything, put everything out, and I just love
Absolutely.
no recipes, nothing like that. I just do my thing, and it's like art, like it's just a beautiful
Yeah.
thing. So yeah, I would have been a chef, definitely. I just think it would have been the natural way for me to go. And to be honest, having seen a lot of these programs and that, actually, when you see high-end kitchens, it's very, like I said, they're regimental.
It is.
It is very similar to the military in some respects. You have to be very
Yeah.
disciplined. You need to be on time with things.
You've got your sections, and you've got this one's
Yeah.
in charge of that. This one's in charge of that. Food goes out, and it's very regimented.
Yeah, and I think it stems again that I would have definitely done that. Yeah, if I did join the military. So,
Yeah, fair enough. I don't think I could be a chef. I don't like that when I watch the programs and it's like, yeah, someone breathing down your neck all the time. When I cook, I'm very chill. I'm very chill anyway,
yeah.
I'm like, so right. If you could go back, like in time or whatever, would you do it all again?
Yeah, but there's one change I would make. I always say don't have regrets, but that one change would have been not to be so pushed into leaving the military, and I would have loved to have given proper selection a go because I still feel that was something I need to do. But failed and walked away from it. Happy days, no drama. But I still think that I wish I could have had the full capability to do it because that was my goal. But that is the only thing I think I would change. I've been, since leaving the military, I've been involved in all sorts of stuff. I've been very outspoken about stuff.
Yeah.
Some people would say politically. I don't really see it as politics. I see it as just talking about weirdos that want to do wrong things.
Yeah.
But people call it politics if they like. I've been outspoken. I've been involved in a lot of stuff. Some of that stuff has affected my family. I regret that. My mum's had death threats. I regret that. I probably put my family in danger because ISIS had most of our lot that were in Kirkuk on a basically wanted list. So that puts you in danger, especially if you live in London at the time. Put probably my mother in danger. So that kind of stuff I kind of regret because I didn't think about the bigger consequences. But I don't regret doing what I've done though in any aspect. I don't think. And who I am who I am. I think one thing I will say about myself, without trying to sound like a big-headed idiot, is I wear my heart on my sleeve. And I think most people that know me know that.
Yeah.
That's what I think. There's nothing else about me. I'm not lying or being nice for a reason. If I'm nice to you, it's because I generally care. If there's something wrong, I say it. Do you know what I mean? It gets me in trouble. It's a fault, some say, but I don't know. People know.
I think it'd only get you in trouble with false people. I'm very much like that. I say it how it is, and I respect that, man. So I wouldn't want anyone to be any other way. So yeah, it's a good quality. So this is a tricky question. So this I could be. I think I'm mainly talking about the Afghan war because there's no doubt that ISIS are the enemy. and they need to be wiped out. There's nothing good that can come from them guys. So maybe in your private contracting, it's like you could talk about the Somalians, pirates, and why they do what they do. But was there any part of the war and your private contracting where you thought like the enemy might not actually be the enemy? Apart from ISIS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, Afghanistan's a real tricky one. Now, for me, I don't agree with anything the Taliban do because I don't agree in that way of life. I'm not talking. I think it's wrong to say that. I'm not talking about Islam as a religion. I'm not. I'm talking more of how the Taliban operated as an Islamic unit. Yeah.
Yep.
So before anyone starts sort of going mad on here, but I don't agree with anything they done. But I always try to, after these things, I always try to put the shoe on the other foot. And if you have people in your country, you're kind of pissed off, aren't you? And you know that maybe what the West did was radicalize a lot more people because you know the Taliban were able to use like this kind of sort of propaganda that you know we are here to do such bad things, which wasn't the case. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean I've heard stories of the US going in and kicking doors down to try and find these Talibans, and it's like then that family's pissed off because you've tied them all up.
Yeah,
and it's like it gets tricky. So I understand what path you're going down. Yeah.
Yeah, but then, like we said before, when you're in that situation, you're looking after them, your mate left and right.
Yeah.
What needs to happen to protect those people is what needs to happen. But
because the way they fight is they use the public, don't they?
Yeah.
As a disguise. So it's very tricky. Yeah. I get you.
One thing I would say is probably the Somali pirates, and I'm going to say this because what it was, this all started because the shipping lanes were going through the fishing lanes of the Somali pirates and taking their nets. Now, people might say it's just a net. To a Somalian guy, yeah, that's their livelihood. Do you know what I mean? And they were ripping up nets. I've been on ships that have just gone through nets, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see them shouting in the boat. They're not pirates, they're just fishermen, but they're shouting, you know, like, you've just gone through my net.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell? But there's nothing you can do. Do you know what I mean? So there was a backlash, and that's how piracy actually started.
This is why, I've touched on that. Exactly. That was created, right?
It was created. So for them, you know, there was part of it, like, where I felt like kind of, well, I'm earning money. Do you know what I mean? I had to earn money. If it weren't me doing it, someone else would be doing it, protecting. At least we're protecting people. But I did kind of feel for them because I was like, do you know what? I'd be pissed off if you try. You know.
The trouble is, without that, they can't feed their family. So they have no choice but to use their old fishing boat and go out and try and get some money some other way. I'm not saying it's right to what they're doing, but
in all the situations like that, there's always people that exploit it. So there'd be people on both sides. The insurance companies exploited it, mate, hugely. I started off where I was on contracts unarmed. I had no weapons when I first started doing piracy, which was pretty shit. And then some contracts let us have weapons. Then we always had weapons after that. But the insurance companies exploited it. The people on the ground themselves, the law, like the sort of ringleaders, should we say, of these gangs, these Somali pirate gangs, they exploited it. Because even though if the ships had changed and they were going through a different shipping lane, you know, the kind of tried to sort of like find a middle ground with them. You know, they would still be there on the land saying, "Look at these, you know, horrible big corporation companies that are coming through our," you know, it's just a vicious circle. But I think out of all of them, you know, I've met guys that have been captured by Somali pirates that were crew, not security. And when I'd spoken to them, it wasn't great conditions, but they actually didn't get, you know, they got food every day, they got water. And
this is what I heard. They'd actually treated their prisoners really well. That's what I've heard. So I'm glad you said that because, that's coming from...
That's just stuff I've heard. There might be somebody who's experienced a real bad experience with it, but all I know is most of them did survive, and they had water, they had rice every day. when you're kept a prisoner, that's all you ask for, really, because it can be a lot worse. So they're probably the only ones who I would say, oh yeah, I kind of get a bit of your argument.
Yeah.
But apart from that, no. The Taliban, no. Like I said, they exploited the situation as well. Okay,
Yeah.
and all right, we can all go into it about the Mujahideen, Russia, how the West actually trained the Taliban anyway, and blah blah blah. But the fundamentals of it is, I didn't agree with them, and they were trying to kill us. And
You got to look at it like you're in a situation, and imagine like there's someone out in the street and you've picked a fight with them, and then you hide behind your kids. That's basically the way I see it.
Well, exactly. Yeah.
You're hiding behind your missus and your kids.
Can I just actually? You've just reminded me of something, Fons.
Go for it, yeah, mate.
I forget so much stuff, and I will go back to things. But when you talk about children, there, just quickly, I remember this young Afghan girl. She must have been around the time my daughter's age, and every time she used to come out in this open field, we knew the Taliban would smash us. Every time they did, and they would stick her in the middle of that fucking field, mate. Because obviously now we have to be very careful when we were shooting. Yeah, and they would shoot at angles. They were horrendous like that. Do you know what I mean?
So there you go.
And it was difficult for us because we're abiding by laws, the Geneva Convention. We're abiding by a lot of stuff where the Taliban obviously wasn't. They were putting IDs in the road. So, we're trying to be correct in our manner. I don't think British soldiers get enough credit for doing this, right? I really don't. This is a huge thing. You see at the moment with the persecution of Northern Ireland veterans. But I don't think they get enough credit. Honestly, I think we are one of the best militaries in the world that actually abiding by the rules of conflict. And, that situation there, all my blokes in the section knew, all right? They knew, okay, that they're not going to shoot near that girl. They knew that. Do you know what I mean? And that was something we abided by, regardless.
I've got to say, even like British people, I mean, take the Geneva Convention out of it, take the laws out of it. There's no way you can go home knowing that you've hurt or injured a little girl. Like,
exactly.
That's unbelievable, that the fact that they think that's all right and they do that. It's just that's terrible.
I think with a lot of it, right, I started to notice as well, and our whole section did, was where we were, a lot of it was outside influence. So again, I wouldn't label the Afghans as all Taliban and bad people. A lot of the people we were fighting against were Chechen. Not a lot, but a few of them were Chechen, and the vast majority were Pakistani.
Mm-hmm.
Because once you've been there a while, you can tell the difference.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But a lot of the snipers that were, targeting our guys were Chechen snipers. So, they're highly trained and experienced, you can imagine. Chechen is a serious, place where hard fuckers come from.
Yeah.
Radicals come from, serious guys that are trained and know how to fight, believe it or not. But a lot of the guys that we were fighting were Pakistani. Pakistani Taliban, if you like.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Where were we going with that? Yeah, we were talking about obviously the young girl, but
hiding behind your family is basically what we were saying, and there's no respect for that at all.
Yeah, not at all.
Hiding behind kids, it's just how pathetic do you want to be? Yeah. Right, let's just go on to some positive stuff.
Yeah.
About where you are now. So you're doing a charity fight.
Yeah.
Okay. So what the reason behind it? Obviously, you want to help out the Welsh Guard. Is that right?
Welsh Guards, charity. Yeah.
So do you feel that charity events for veterans has helped you with getting back to civvy life and settling back in society?
Yeah, I do. I think that by doing these events, Obviously, I'm doing them first and foremost for the charity, and it's great to raise money. And I think we have a responsibility as veterans ourselves to lead the way in improving veterans and serving personnel's lives. And I think we should lead the way in it. Personally, I just think to practice what we preach, I think it's good to go on and do these things. It helps me keep level-headed because, again, going back to having something, I always pick something a bit crazy, you know, like I started with my running when I started doing events, and I'd done an event that was, what was it? I don't think I'd done it for a charity, but I was home one week and from being in Iraq, and I was fed up, absolutely fed up with getting home, having a month off, living in Thailand at the time, and just drinking all day. Because all I used to do, because when I went back away, I couldn't drink. So I made up for it in that month.
Got you, yeah.
Horrible lifestyle. So I thought, do you know what, this time I'm going to start doing some running. So I got back and it was like 1 week. I've been stuck on the ship. So I've been training in the gym. I was in good shape, but I looked good, but I weren't running fit, yeah? So I went and done a marathon, Pattaya marathon. So I was living in Pattaya in Thailand. And then a week after that, I saw a 50K in Bangkok, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to do that 50K the week after. And then a week after that, I thought to myself, there's 100K up Chiang Mai. I'm going to go and do that through the jungle. Done it. No, sorry, that was another 50K. I tell a lie. That was another 50K, but it was a jungle run. All right, done that. They had the same race. It was 100K. Done that the week after. And I thought, you know what, I'm not going to go back to work directly. There were some cancellations anyway, visas, all this crap. So I had a bit of extra time. So I thought to myself, I'm going to keep going with this. So I'd done a North Face 100K again, another one in a different area. And in one of them, I finished 7th.
Oh,
now,
wow.
I was like amazed.
Yeah.
Now, ultra, I will tell you, was one of the most challenging things I've done in my life physically. But what's coming up now, I would rather do this than do an ultra.
Really?
They are mentally the most toughest thing I've ever done. Do you know what I mean? You will go through.
So is that like day and night as well?
Yeah, normally, sometimes they start at 3 in the morning, 2 in the morning.
That's mad.
Some of them go on for 18, depending how quick you finish, but 18, 20 hours. Some guys will finish in 16. It just depends. And it's normally off track as well. It's not like road running.
Yeah.
That I'm doing, so trail running. And the emotions you go through, mate, I wasn't emotionally a stable guy at the time, but that opened up it's like someone's cracked your brain open and is looking through it and pressing emotion when you're running. I've seen guys curled up in the corner at the top of a hill in tears, mate. And the weirdest thing I found about all this is when I got to meet all these people. So I started to see the same people on some of these races. That everyone came from a weird, unique background that does this stuff. Some of them are coming from alcoholic backgrounds, drug backgrounds, addictive personality backgrounds, basically.
Yeah.
And it drew them to ultra, and it was like a brilliant time of my life. But as I was going through this, I was raising money for different charities, blind veterans. I did it for the VC charity that looks after all the graves. I've done it for, I think, SAFA. Many different charities I've run for and raised each time over £1,000 for a charity, if you like. I then finished off before I went back to work. I finished off on a 24-hour run. And it's a run. You basically start and you have 24 hours and you have this was a 3.2. It's called Relentless. A 3.2, I think, K run around this small sort of pond. Well, not pond, a lake. Sorry, yeah. Mm-hmm. And you just basically run around it for 24 hours. And you clock up distance. So the winner is the person with the most distance. Yeah. But you can choose when to rest. You can do whatever you want. You can sleep if you want, but obviously you're not going to win. Yeah. I was leading it for 12, 13 hours. I was leading the thing. I was miles ahead. And then I got to that second stage, mate, of 12 hours. I'll tell you what, I was in absolute agony.
But you hit the wall. Is it the wall?
Yeah, completely.
I've only hit that once in my life, and I tell you, it's not good.
It's not nice, is it? But in the ultra, you hit it for hours and hours. It's like continuous.
No, I couldn't. I was about 10 minutes away. In comparison, my whole ride, I was on a bike, was about half hour, 45 minutes. And I got to the last 10 minutes of where I lived. And I hit the wall. And I thought there was something wrong with me. I thought, oh my God, like, what is this? And then I got home and looked it up, and it was like, oh, that's the wall. And I tell you what, I was nearly getting off my bike, and I just felt like I needed to just lay down. Like, it's horrific, man.
The guy who won that 24-hour, I have a lot of respect for him. He won by like a small margin. Me and him were really going, you know, like really, like I was leading, he would lead, blah blah blah. Towards the end, he started to creep forward. I just like physically, I was just pushing myself, but I just, you know, I had nothing left. But I had 10 minutes sleep in the 24 hours, so I quickly went in, had a 10-minute clip, got back up because you have to rest at some point. Done me a world of good, and then carried on running. And that guy ended up in hospital at the end of it.
Oh shit! Wow.
Yeah, he'd done some real damage. So, and I was in absolute agony. But my trick was to, after every race, get a bottle of whiskey, drink it, because the pain was, you know, you're doing sometimes 4 or 5 marathons, so you have to think that's a hell of a lot.
I bet you just crashed out after that, right?
Oh, and the worst thing is the rubs and everything. You know, like you know, when you go in the shower and you've got a rub, like a rub, it stings like hell, doesn't it?
Right.
Well, no matter how much Vaseline you put on and everything, you're going to get rubs, especially if you're running in humidity like Thailand.
Yeah.
And you go in that shower, mate, and it's like someone's chucked acid over you. You know, like it's like you're screaming and your legs are just dead.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, you know, that was a mad experience. But obviously, I fought in Thailand as well in Thai boxing.
Mm-hmm.
I had sort of 5 weeks training in a Thai boxing camp, and I then took the fight about a week out. I just decided, you know what, I'm going to take this fight. I'm going to actually have a fight. Sod it, might as well. And at that time as well, I smashed my shoulder up very badly on the motorbike.
Oh yeah, he's telling me this. Yeah.
So I took serious painkillers for that fight, which probably done me some good.
Did your opponent know?
Yeah, he did. Yeah. But I took some painkillers.
Was he cheeky? Did he take advantage?
No, he didn't actually.
Good.
But
good man.
He actually found a weakness and smashed my leg. I think I told you. And unfortunately, on that fight, I lost. But the guy collapsed at the end because he had hit me so much. And I had like both my shins were split open. I just wasn't conditioned enough. Both my shins were split open. There was a lot of blood involved in it all. I had smashed myself up quite badly. But I didn't go down. I didn't get knocked out. That's the problem with me. I'm a stubborn little prat. But this guy's fought 300 times.
Wow.
A mature fella. So, like, you know, after he shook my hand, he said, I can't believe I had to kick you that much and you didn't even go down. He was shocked. But that was good luck. But the reason as well is that I thought all these people donated. You know, I have to get in that ring, man. I can't cancel this. Unless I'm dead, I can't cancel any of it because people have donated, you know, for a reason. Obviously, you could probably get, you know, I could say, look, I've been to hospital, I've got a problem with my shoulder, sorry, the fight's off, but the money goes to charity. That's just not my style, you know, so I just keep going with it.
No, respect, man. Respect.
But that was a great experience. It led me on to carry on Thai boxing. And, you know, obviously I haven't done it for about a year and a half properly anymore. But now I'm going on to my next task, which is bare knuckle. Which I've just had to focus on the head and the body area, which is a lot easier for me instead of worrying about someone kneeing or elbowing you in the head. Yeah. So, yeah, that really leads me to the charity events, and there's going to be many more. And like you pointed out there, it does help me as well. I must admit, it helps me get through life to give myself the goals again, the adrenaline rush, as we've covered. So yeah.
No, that's fair enough. For anyone who wants more information on Timbo's fight, or Timothy Scott's fight, I get too used to calling you Timbo, man. It will be in the video description. At the time of this recording, there isn't really long left. Neither is there.
No, there's. What are we on now? We're just when we get to Saturday. Then this week it'll be 3 weeks, mate.
3 weeks left. So yeah,
Yeah,
there will be a
yeah.
donation link to the Welsh Guard. It's all going to charity, as we've said, and it will be in the video description. So yeah, what does the future hold in relation to your past?
I think the future holds a lot. I've moved out of London. I've started to be able to see myself a lot more clearer, where it was misty before, shall we say? Maybe because of the past and everything, and I'm always trying to get that sort of fix, if you like. I've managed to tackle some of the sort of addiction I had with alcohol.
Yeah.
But that can always change. Can change tomorrow. It's just something that I have to.
Right now, you're drinking green tea all the time.
Yeah,
you could say you've got an addiction to green tea.
Some water, but I. The thing is, I'm one or the other.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that's the problem. That's the problem my whole life, really. I'm one or the other. But yeah, the future for me is really motivating people. And I've done quite a few videos of motivation.
Yeah.
People get in touch with me. I'll tell you what, there is nothing more rewarding when you get somebody who says, you know what, I haven't exercised for years, but when I saw one of your videos talking about promotion and how, you can sort of like push yourself to get out the door, as I say, put your trainers on. And that's the hardest part of it. And once you're out, you're doing it.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's the most rewarding thing to me in my life. And I think that will be something that I will stem and expand on. I've touched on it in the past. And to be honest, when I'm really feeling like dead, I've had a small injury and things like that. What gives me hope is I hope people watch some of the stuff I do. And I'm no ninja. I'm not going to be like the best ultra runner. I'm not going to be the best fighter. All right. But if you look at that and think that guy can do that,
yeah,
maybe I can, start doing a run of 500 meters, say.
Yeah.
That means a fucking world to me if I can do that. So the future for me holds me helping other people, but a massive part of my future is being a better father. I owe that to my daughter because I do not believe in my own mind. And I've had close friends of me say, your war is fighting for your daughter now. And in the past, I've shone that off. And I'm not going to sit here and feel sorry for myself. The best way to change that is to be a better father. And I don't think I've been the best I could have been, if I'm honest. And when I mean that, I don't mean that in a financial way or anything like that. What I mean that in a way of love, commitment, being there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Believe it or not, only in the last 4 months, I actually now text my daughter to WhatsApp, and that's quite mad. Like people might think, well, that's mental. Whereas I used to probably speak to her once every 2 weeks, once every month. Like now, I'm starting to understand that I have a responsibility. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, Tim. Yeah.
Yeah, and
absolutely.
I can't save the world. I can help people. I can do that, but I used to have. There's a complex. There was a film that came out about all volunteers in Kurdistan. It's called, written by a great guy who I know, and it was called the Robin Hood Complex.
Okay.
And that really sums me up.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, that I had a Robin Hood complex. I thought I could save the world. I could give and be this guy that can show people that this is we can change, and we can do this kind of thing, and I think that really sums me up, mate. And what I need to do in the future, be a better father. That's the first and foremost thing. Be a better person. Be honest with myself when I say to myself that when I look in that mirror, who I am, what I am, and hopefully when I have that free time that I can help people as well through what I do. Motivate people. And it's not about, like I've said before, running up this steep hill at 100 miles per hour. Everyone's mountain is different. One thing I've learned.
100%.
I've always been naive and thought well, it's only veterans that can really do fitness, and it's only, you know, we're the best at doing that. And that's a naive way to look at life. It's taken me a long time to understand that, you know, I just took that path. It's a job at the end of the day. It is my past, and that's it. Doesn't make me any better than anyone else. Do you know what I mean? It just makes me maybe slightly different to the normal way of life. And some people might find that a bit alien. But do you know what? I'm finding this life a bit alien, but now I'm starting to learn about it. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think the future will definitely be more about my daughter. 100%. It's got to be. There's no choice anymore.
You spoke about leaving a legacy.
Yeah.
That's your legacy.
Yeah, definitely. I think my legacy will be, well, it's the final chapter of it, if you like.
Yeah.
You know, to some people who've done a lot more. I'm not claiming that I've done the most, by the way, just to clarify that. You know, there's guys that have been worked in SF and stuff. I have done so much fucking more. Mine's like nothing compared to them. But for me, it's a lot. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, that final chapter of the legacy has got to be. This is all for my daughter. I think of it like a book.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's reading this book, even though this book doesn't exist?
Well, you want her to be telling her children about you, and so on and so forth. Like I tell my children about my great granddad who fought in like World War II, and you know,
and
so that's what you want.
I think when she gets to the end of it, and then she's said about my life to one of her friends or to her kids, she can say, also, I wanted to. Oh, this is what I would like to finish. He was the most loving father ever. And if I can leave that, that's my legacy.
Yeah.
I owe that to my daughter. She has been through a rough time with me always being away. And because I never really had my father, I thought it was normal. Biggest mistake I made, that I thought it was normal, and it's not. It's not normal. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
It's easy to say. I grew up in a single parent family, but with hardly any family around. But actually, when you fundamentally look at it through nature, going a bit deep here, but through nature and stuff, there is a mother, there is a father. They look after the cubs, and they get taught how to survive and go through this world. They do the same. And yeah, I think I failed at that concept. But, you know, like I said, my aim now is to make sure that she finishes on that note, that he was the most loving father. And not just words, that she means it. So, yeah.
I respect, yeah. Yeah, fair enough. We're at the end, Timber.
That was good.
Is there anything you wanna add?
No, not really. Just you know, if there is people out there, I will say, just going on from you know, about helping people and that. If there is people out there that don't feel so motivated, feel free to get in touch. You know, I'm not doing this as a business. I'm not doing it for money. I don't ask anyone for anything. I don't claim to be some sort of PTI guru. But if people are a bit lost or whatever, and they want to use physical activity to maybe, you know, or be inspired to do physical activity, get in touch. No drama. I think that's how we help each other. We
Definitely,
have to do.
Yeah. Where's the best place to get in touch with Timothy Scott?
You can get me on Facebook for the moment. Hopefully I should stay on there now because I'm not so controversial, shall we say. But you can get me on there or YouTube as well, Elephant in the Room.
I'll leave links in the description, so check them out.
Ah, cool. Thank you. Yeah, you get me on YouTube, Elephant in the Room, and there's a lot of my motivational videos on there now and the journey that I'm taking. And again, it helps both sides. It helps me doing these videos to put them out there and express what I'm going through as I start to become, you know, more motivated and a better human being. And then hopefully you guys can rebound off that and then give me your feedback of how you feel. It's just a big network like that of helping each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, oh, good.
I know, it's cool. I've really enjoyed this talking to you, and it's good to hear, you know, some of the stories of what you went through and how it's left you thinking. So I think there's a lot learned here in this chat today, and yeah, I appreciate you coming on, Tim.
No, thank you, Franz. Thank you for having me, mate. And I think I've got everything in there that I wanted to express in this, in the true aspect of me. But obviously, there's going to be things that I probably missed. But it's the nature of the beast. But we covered the important issues, and I think the biggest thing from all of that is to show that how your childhood can shape your future. I think that's the biggest thing. So yeah, definitely.
No, lovely. Yeah, thank you again, and thanks for watching, people, as well. And yeah, hope you enjoyed it. Ta-ta.
Yeah. Cheers, Franz.